When my parents gave the family restaurant I built to my brother, I took the recipes, the staff, and my pride, then opened across the street, and watched their tables sit empty. At the polished table at Harbor Family Grill, my dad, Frank, signs papers handing the helm to my younger brother, Tyler. Mom, Carol, beams. The lawyer snaps his folder shut. Me, Nate, 34, chef and co-founder who spent 10 years running the kitchen, menu, and suppliers, gets, "You'll stay in operations, son." Tyler's got vision. He's been back 8 months from LA doing food truck marketing, and suddenly he's the GM. I clap because everyone is looking. Tyler gives me a stagey hug and whispers, "No hard feelings, man. Brand needs a face." At last month's local restaurateur's open mic, he cracked jokes about a cook who's good with knives, not people. The room laughed, and I was labeled the technical guy. Photos on the walls, ribbon cuttings, handshakes, magazine covers. Show Dad and Tyler everywhere. I'm not there, though my sauces kept the room full. The framed cover with Harbor's secret weapon crops out my tattooed forearms. Tyler's smile is dead center. After the toasts, I take my copy of the amended operating agreement and sit by the hostess stand. Clause 4.2. GM reports to managing member, now Dad, with delegated strategic oversight to Tyler. Clause 7.1. Recipes and SOPs are licensed to the LLC by author, me. Revocable with 30 days notice unless bought outright. We never closed the purchase. Tyler doesn't know that. He also doesn't know the vendor relationships live in my phone and my head. I look up at our sign across the street and tell myself, if the family business isn't mine, my life definitely is. New rule. Hours 9 to 6, weekends mine. No more unpaid heroics. No more 2 a.m. fryer rebuilds because Tyler promised a wedding party midnight oysters on Instagram. I text the Sue, Danny, starting tomorrow, I'm strictly schedule-bound, documenting everything. She replies with a crab emoji and a finally. In the office, I inventory leverage. Keys, walk-in, liquor cage, safe, digital, square, payroll, vendor portals. IP. The sourdough starter I culture like a moody pet. The burner-proof aioli base at 62 degrees Celsius. The halibut glaze that turned a dead Tuesday into a $7,400 night. Asset list in a plain moleskine. Recipes, license, revocable, vendor deals, handshake plus email, maintenance schedule. My spreadsheet, health inspection binder mine. I take photos, timestamps, serial numbers, the Delfield model, the Vulcan range with the wonky pilot, the Fluke multimeter I bought with my own card. When service starts, Tyler floats table to table like a wedding MC. We're elevating, he tells a couple under the fishing net lights. He nods toward the kitchen. Nate will execute. I execute. Tickets hum. At 8:15 a.m. server slaps a chit influencer tasting comp on my pass without asking. I send out 3 hot plates anyway because the dining room matters, but I feel the old habit trying to hook me. After close, Tyler declares a mandatory Sunday vision summit. I open my calendar and block Sunday off. Out loud. I'll be hiking. He blinks. Dude, we're family. I keep my voice gentle. Family doesn't mean free labor. He laughs, calls me heartless, then pivots to Dad. See? This is what I mean about people skills. So I move quietly. I export the vendor ledger to my drive. I print the recipe license letter, sign it, tuck it into a stamped envelope addressed to Harbor LLC. Notice of revocation, effective 30 days from receipt, unless compensation agreed, $45,000 for full assignment. Itemized schedule attached. At 10:22 p.m., I email it to the company inbox too. Read receipt ping. 10:23 p.m. I screenshot it. I also changed the Square permissions so Tyler can see dashboards but can't edit payouts. Authorized user, not owner. Facts matter. On my way out, I look up at the Harbor Family Grill sign, at the weathered rope wrapped around the posts. The rope is decorative. It looks strong but holds nothing. I lock the door and keep the key in my pocket. Tomorrow, I'll run my shift 9 to 6, hand off clean, and go home to an apartment that smells like lemon oil and peace. If they've crowned a king without me, fine. I'll be my own country. I badge in at 9:01 a.m., hang my apron, and start the line check like a metronome. Temps, dates, par levels. At 6 p.m., I clock out, wipe my station, and leave. I stop answering the 2 a.m. quick queue texts. Takes 48 hours for the first lesson to arrive. The $85,000 City Festival catering Tyler Bragg sold last week launches without my final costing sheet. He approved meat by net case weight, not drained weight. The brisket yield math is off by 18%. On day 2, his performance kitchen runs out of protein at 6:40 p.m. and buys retail at full price with a company card. Frank paces the office, face burgundy. How did you let this happen? I fold my arms. I work like an employee because that's what you decided. He says I'm being literal. I nod. Correct. Damage arrives by email. Vendor. Due to outstanding balance and volume promises not met, prepay required. Tyler had promised chain-level pricing and a weekly pallet of fryer oil we can't store. 2 sous chefs ask for posted schedules without 16-hour doubles. Tyler denies and offers equity vibes. I print the state scheduling poster and tape it by the time clock. Pick a time clock, not nepotism. I tell him. He calls me heartless. I say, calm. Hearts don't reconcile invoices. At 3:15 p.m., Tyler summons staff to the dining room for a public briefing. He throws my old FOH checklist on the TV and calls it old school. Guests at table 12 clap. Someone films. On reels he captions, "We're modernizing at Harbor. No more chef dictatorships." The clip hits 12K views by morning. Comments. Let the creative GM cook. I screenshot and drop it into the HR folder that doesn't exist here. So I make one, Harbor/HR/incidents. Timestamps matter. Suppliers smell blood. Produce guy texts. Prepay or COD. Meet rep. Your GM pushed for 120-day terms. Not happening. I cleanly say understood and rewrite pars to match cash. Menu trims by tonight. Halibut 86D. Swap in steelhead at $8.30 per pound. Appetizer board drops the triple cream. At lineup, I explain yield math with a Sharpie on the back of a ticket. Net versus gross, shrink, trim loss. We cook what we can pay for, I say. Danny nods. I stop being Harbor's crash pad. Line cooks used to nap on my sofa between doubles. I love them, but I lock my apartment door at 10. Saturday 7:05 a.m. Tyler texts. Pick up dry ice. Forgot. I reply at 9:02. Arrived at 9 per schedule. Please assign during shifts. Blue bubbles pulse. Then, you're not a team player. I archive the thread. Frank tries soft power. It's family, Nate. I lift the amended operating agreement from my drawer. Clause 4.2, GM reports to managing member. I'm operations. You said it. He glares at the trust notice on his desk like it bit him. Day 12 of my 30-day clock. He could buy the recipes for $45,000 or let them sunset. He hasn't responded. Monday, Hartwell Foods owner, a quiet man in a Navy windbreaker, arrives at 10:30 for a facilities walkthrough. Tyler plans to dazzle with brand. I arrive exactly for my slotted hour, grab the sanitation binder, and walk Hartwell through the dish pit airflow and compressor cycles. I tap the Delfield serial tag, show the preventative maintenance calendar I built, and pull the Fluke multimeter from my bag to demonstrate a lazy ground. Tyler tries to steer the talk to influencer dinners. Hartwell smiles at me. You keep it tight, he says and hands me his card. By Wednesday, the festival loss lands. Minus $14,780 after credits. Tyler blames legacy systems. I push a single sheet across the desk. My costing template with a bright box labeled yield percent. Use this or don't, I say, but own the result. He goes live again, talks about breaking rules. In the comments, a few servers write cryptic hearts. In the walk-in, I label pans louder, steelhead, 7.1 lb, yield 87%. DNS 10-20 seconds 1402 Nate. 2 cooks quit after being denied a Saturday off for a kid's recital. I refuse to guilt fill. Post the opening. Pay the rate. Tyler posts rockstar wanted. Must love family. I post the actual hourly on the official job board with the EIN. Applicants reply to mine. At 5:58 p.m. I hand off the line, print the night's prep list, and place it on the pass with a pen. Tyler tries. Stay for the influencer table? I smile. Schedule. I step into the late sun, breathe, and walk to the bus stop like a civilian. That night, I inventory my leverage again. Square permissions? Intact. Vendor ledger copies? Backed up. Recipe license clock? 18 days. Sous chef goodwill. Fragile but present. I email Frank a clean path. Buyout terms for the IP. Sunday blackout for salaried staff. Real-world prep par cuts. His reply pings at 11:47 p.m. We'll discuss tomorrow. I don't see it until morning. Boundaries bill you. They also pay. The Hartwell owner's card sits on my counter, heavy as a coin. Orders wobble the way a tray wobbles when the busser runs. Promised timelines the kitchen can't hit. The cold chain sags because Tyler skimps on ice to save margin. I find oysters sweating in an uninsulated tote at 44 degrees Fahrenheit. I bin them, log it HACCP sheet, 10:18 a.m., initial NH. He calls it waste. I call it not poisoning people. Regulars pull me aside to say they're ignored. For new faces Tyler courts on live. One writes on a check, "We miss being seen." I screenshot, redact the card digits, and file it. Across the street in Shoreline Test Kitchen, 6 burners, a beat-up Hobart, a walk-in the size of a closet. I run R&D after hours for paying clients. It smells like yeast and coffee. Mom appears in the doorway with a foil pan of stuffed shells and a look I know from childhood band concerts. "Your father's scared," she says softly. "Please talk." I pour coffee, slide over a stool, and keep my voice even. "Scared of what?" She glances at my pinned notice letter on the corkboard. Day 19 of 30. "Losing you," she says. I don't say that they already engineered that. Dinner becomes a table in our dining room at 6:30. Frank clears his throat like a judge. Tyler set the centerpiece rope-wrap jar, 2 on brand. They pitch a neat split, 50-50 co-lead with Tyler, after Frank retires. I handle production and safety. Tyler runs marketing and the floor. "We're correcting course," Dad says. "Family first. It would be generous if it weren't adjunct to after and someday." I ask, "Written?" Tyler says, "We don't need paper for family." I take a slow sip of water. I do. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Later, outside, I read the email from Hartwell. Subject, offer, Director of Operations and QA. Bullet points. Base €128,000. 10% annual bonus tied to defect rate under 0.8%. Equity vesting at year 3. Full authority over process, food safety, and vendor standards. Direct report to the COO. Relocation not required. Start date flexible. NDA attached. Sign by date next Friday. There's an org chart with my box in navy and everyone else's boxes respectfully distant from it. It's the first time in months a document has treated my competence like a fact, not a resource to strip mine. I walk back in and ask Dad, "Why now?" He mutters, "Misjudged the situation." Tyler adds, "Optics got skewed." It sounds like fire control, not recognition. I say, "You put our brand on a Jenga tower called charisma." He laughs like I made a joke. I don't. Service lurches. Tyler books 2 influencer tastings at 8 o'clock on a Friday with no extra hands. He jokes on Instagram Live about the brother who stole Mom's recipes. Mom's eyes flick to mine. I feel the click that happens before a cut when you line up the bevel and commit. I step off the line at 8:14, wash my hands, and print 3 letters. Letter 1. Acceptance of offer Hartwell Foods. I sign, scan, attach my CV, and hit send from my phone outside by the Herbs. Letter 2. Notice of resignation Harbor Family Grill. Effective in 14 days, per my at-will agreement. I'll fulfill scheduled shifts but decline additional unpaid duties. I'll return keys and disable my admin roles on exit. Letter 3. Cease and desist. Use of licensed recipes. Reiterating the revocation effective on day 30 absent purchase. Citing clause 7.1. Listing the specific items, sourdough starter lineage, aioli base at 62 degrees Celsius, halibut glaze. Requesting immediate removal from printed collateral and social captions. I email all 3 to the company inbox, CC Frank's counsel, and blind CC myself. At 9:02, square dings. Someone tipped $200 on a comp table. Tyler posts a clown emoji and writes, "The internet provides." I draft a calm reply I don't send. Instead, I text Danny, "My last day is in 2 weeks. You'll be okay." She sends the sailor emoji and a single period. Mom finds me by the alley door. "Is there really no way?" Her voice tiny. I soften. "There's a way. It involves paper, authority, and respect paid in advance, not promised." She nods like she understands and also like she can't carry that home. At midnight I'm in Shoreline, feeding the starter, logging its page, 3.9, and labeling a Trado, test, Hartwell, Nate 2358. My phone glows. Hartwell's HR countersigns the acceptance and proposes an onboarding call Monday 10 o'clock. I add it to my calendar. I also schedule time to move personal property. The fluke meter, my knives, the binder I printed at Kinko's with the entire maintenance schedule that I never actually transferred to Harbors Drive. Personal means personal. I lock Shoreline and, for the first time in months, sleep without service ringing in my ears. The decision is one they can't move. The clock keeps ticking. 11 days until the recipes go dark. I print the resignation on thick paper and slide it onto the office table. 14 days and I'm out. No drama, just dates and a bullet list, keys, fobs, square rolls to be disabled on exit. I box my recipe cards, registered to me, signed and time-stamped, and wrap the sourdough jar like it's glass and history, because it is. Across the street I sign a tiny lease. Clock and skillet, 612 Pierce Street. Tagline I Sharpie on butcher paper above the pass. A schedule is respect. 12 seats, 2 induction hobs. 1 battered griddle I rebuilt on my living room floor. The menu fits on a postcard. Tyler calls it Betrayal loud enough for the bar to hear. Your knifing family. Frank tries for Latin. A knife in the back. I put the maintenance binder on the table and the closing checklist on the wall. I'm documenting so no one gets hurt, I say. Then I run a training week like a drill sergeant with manners. Walk-in maps, color codes, non-negotiables, why bleach doesn't live near vinegar. I leave laminated station cards and a tiny note for Danny. You don't need permission to be meticulous. On my last day, the staff shows up with cupcakes and a card signed in black Sharpie. The family doesn't. I turn in keys, strip my admin privileges, and hand Frank a USB with my last 2 weeks of incident logs. At 5:58 p.m., I place the final prep list on the pass with a pen clipped to it, the way I like to leave a room. At 6 o'clock, my time belongs to me. I walk out through the back, past the herb trough, past the ash bin, into air that feels like a door opening. I don't look back because forward is a stove that doesn't lie. Day 1 at clock and skillet starts at 4:30 a.m. I grind beans, set the timer on the commandante, and whisk hollandaise like a lullaby. I load brisket I smoked in the Shoreline oven into the Alto-Sham, temp 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Hold. At 6:40 a.m. soft line forms, boots and beanies. By 7:05 there's a queue to the curb. Brisket Benedicts under shaved scallion, steelhead hash with lemon. One kid at the counter demolishing a cinnamon roll and waving his fork like a conductor. I call tickets by name. Never bro, my shift board hangs by the door. 2 weeks posted. Overtime banned. A small rectangle that says, break equals a right. Across the street, Harbor Post stories. Tyler films the line at my door. Laughs. Captions. A line of rented friends. Then he flips the camera to their initiation for the new crew. Indoor table fireworks sparking by the line. Raw tuna splayed on a ready-to-eat board next to a stack of cut limes. Someone's hand sprinkles sesame seeds like confetti. Commenters tag the health department and the fire marshal. I don't pile on. I save the stories to my folder labeled Risk. Screenshots keep better than anger. At 7 o'clock, the coffee bar fills. May, our dishwasher who could outwork a storm, steps in with her harbor jacket tied around her waist. Jay, line cook with hands like quick math, follows. We're choosing the clock, not the nephew, May says. I pour them staff coffee, pull 2 W4s from a clip, and post offers at the rate on my board. No rock star. Just employee, paid weekly. I walk them through the tip pool math and point to the overtime policy, hard cap, pre-approval only. Jay grins at the laminated sanitizer chart like it's art. I send a calm email at 9:12 to Harbor's counsel and dad. A reminder that day 30 of my recipe license revocation hits next week. Unauthorized use after that date will trigger enforcement. I list the items clearly and attach the original license and notice. No threats, just nouns and dates. I also drop a note to my insurance broker and upgrade my general liability. Boundaries deserve paperwork and premiums. When a blogger DMs asking for the tea, I reply, we open at 7. The jam is apricot. Dignity tastes better than a clapback. By noon, we've served 83 covers without a raised voice. I cut tickets, wash hands, and wipe the rail between orders like a ritual. A retired harbormaster leaves a 20 and a note. Good luck, chef. Keep your helm. I tape it to the fridge. At 2:05 p.m., as I set tomorrow's par, May hums and Jay labels Cambros with dates like they're precious. Across the street, a fire truck idles. I don't gloat. I check my clock, check my list, and lock the door at 3 o'clock on schedule. The exit isn't a scene. It's a standard operating procedure that finally includes me. 5 months in, clock and skillet runs like a metronome. Plus 17% margin, week over week trailing average. Hassup cold chain logged by probe and photo. Modular stations that reconfigure in 3 minutes flat. Core brunch stays tight. Brisket Benedict, steelhead hash, market greens. But we rotate 2 specials every 7 days to keep prep sane. Deliveries arrive with temp log stickers. The courier pings a QR that dumps straight into our sheet. When a tote lands above 41 degrees Fahrenheit, it goes back, no debate. You can feel standards in your bones. Guests feel them in their stomachs. Hartwell keeps its word. They greenlight 2 pilot locations using the process map I wrote. Receiving cameras, line check prompts on tablets, a stop-the-line rule even a nervous teen can invoke. My mornings are eggs and hollandaise. My afternoons are audits and vendor calls. I sign off on a corrective action plan at 2:14 p.m., mop my 12-seat floor at 3:08, and walk home with my apron folded like a flag. Across the street, Harbor limps. The city festival cancels them after last year's fiasco. 2 fines hit for chicken holding at roughly 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Suppliers switch them to prepay. Yelp smolders. I don't gloat. I calibrate my thermometers. Tyler tries to bounce back with a $120,000 catering promise that ignores physics and human sleep. The kitchen buckles. A busser DMs me a crying emoji. I put down my phone and finish labeling Cambros. The city selects Clock and Skillet as the official brunch vendor for municipal events. 3 Saturdays a month, for 100 covers. The Cooks Union invites me to speak about scheduling. I bring our posted board and explain the arithmetic of dignity. Posted 2 weeks out, overtime by approval only, punishment shifts banned. May tells the group, we're home by 4. My kid knows it. The room claps like relief. Through my window I see Harbor's sign, go dark on a Wednesday. Technical pause. That evening, their front-of-house manager texts. We're up for inspection. They say you sent the pics. I sent nothing. Could. I have screenshots of fireworks on the line and tuna on a ready-to-eat board. But I don't need them to fail for me to win. I reply at 7:12. I didn't report you. Fix the board. Fix the culture. Rumors still slide under my door like flyers. Tyler says you sabotage. I sweep them into the bin. Sabotage is what you do when you don't have systems. I have systems. My Google Drive reads like a ship's log. Verifications, vendor scorecards, incident closures. Hartwell's pilot sites hit a defect rate of 0.6% for 3 consecutive weeks. I buy staff lunch with the bonus and hand out printed notes. Thank you for choosing time over chaos. I add proof to the window, not to the feed. Closed at 3, by design. People take pictures. A dad mouths thanks through the glass. He can plan his Saturday. On Sundays we run 0 overtime with full covers. Jay's hash rate is a marvel. May's dish pit runs like choreography. At 10:32 a.m., a health inspector drops in unannounced. We walk the line. He nods at our sanitizer checks and signs A. I make a copy and tape it next to the schedule. Harbor reopens with a balloon arch and a "we're back" reel cut to thumping bass. The comments are a seesaw. Fire emojis and warnings, loyalty and fatigue. A former server posts, choose clocks over crowns. I don't engage. I prep citrus. The next municipal event, we serve 418 plates in 4 hours. Temp logs perfect. 0 waste over 1.3%. A city councilwoman asks if I'll consult on food safety training for small operators. Make it plain, she says. I can. I will. At 8:44 p.m., my phone buzzes. It's the Harbor FOH manager again. Inspector tomorrow. Any advice? I type, delete, type again. Then I send the only thing that's kept me afloat. Document what you do. Do what you document. Put the clock on the wall and mean it. He replies, copy. Proof of value lives in daylight. The sign across the street flickers. Mine clicks off at exactly 3 o'clock. Morning fog still on the bay when my phone buzzes. Danny, inspector at Harbor. It's bad. 10 minutes later, another ping. Photo of a clipboard with violations circled like bullet holes. Raw chicken over spring mix. Dead thermometers in the drawers. Tuna on a board streaked with aioli. The inspector writes up cross-contamination so plainly you can taste the fine. The last page shows printouts with my name handwritten across the top like a signature. Caption under each. Provided by Nathaniel H. I'm across the street pouring coffee into the house mug that says clock in. Not bleed out. I breathe once and walk over. The inspector is professional, mid-40s, calm voice. Tyler is bright red, palms up. He's sabotaging us, he says, pointing at me like a toddler at a broken vase. I ask the inspector, level, may I see metadata? He blinks, surprised, then says, sure. We scroll the image info on his tablet. EXIF, iPhone 14, timestamp 9/11, location the Harbor kitchen. Original uploader Tyler, manager at Harbor. Wi-Fi SSID Harbor guest. Source device matches the FOH manager's phone ID, not mine. I don't smile. I say, looks internal. The planted gotcha falls apart in daylight. The room still smells like bleach and panic. The inspector continues his route, checking holding temps. The line's steam table sits at 118 degrees Fahrenheit. He measures, pauses, writes, $14,800 in fines before lunch, suspension until correction and verification, separate cold zones, working thermometers, a cleaning log someone actually signs. Staff stands by the dish pit, quiet. Tyler tries one more volley. He's bitter, stole recipes. Danny lifts her chin. We told you about 14-hour shifts, pooled tips skimmed, walk-in that sweats. Another cook adds, he said post the schedule. You said be loyal to family. The inspector doesn't weigh in. He just hands over the notice. Part of the crew peels off at noon and crosses the street. May 1st. J 2nd. 2 servers with knots in their hair. I pull W4s, I explain the tip pool we actually execute, I point at the overtime policy. Breaks are real, I say. We cap hours. Families can plan dinner. Someone cries, quietly, from relief not sorrow. My phone lights up, Mom. Your father's in the hospital, blood pressure. Help us, please. We have 26 families on payroll. Carol's voice is a rope begging to be held. I step into the alley where the fryer oil never quite leaves the bricks. I will not rescue egos. I say gentle. I will protect people. Silence stretches. What does that mean? She asks. I make it specific. I'll return as a consultant on hard terms. Separate cold zones mapped and labeled, fresh thermometers in every drawer, training I run and sign, third-party audit within 14 days, capped hours with a posted schedule, tip pool fixed, back pay reconciled, no nepotism in roles. Tyler doesn't supervise food. He reports. Paper first. Money second. Then I'll stand a day in whites and install the standard, if they accept the standard. Frank calls from a hospital bed. The wheeze behind his words louder than his pride. Son, I misjudged the situation. The apology is soft, incomplete, and real. I say the same sentence I've trained myself to use. Paper makes promises true. He says, send terms. I email a scope of work. Flat retainer, defined deliverables, authority to halt service, authority to fire for safety, and a clause that puts me between staff and retaliation. I CC counsel. I CC mom. Tyler replies with a skull emoji. I archive it. The inspector returns at 3 to post the official suspension. Doors down, our lunch rush hums. Through my window, I can see harbor sign go dark midweek. Technical pause. On my side, the line curves to the corner and folds into daylight. No confetti, no fireworks, just eggs and mornings that end at 3, as posted. People aren't laughing. They're voting. They're choosing time clocks over nepotism, documentation over charisma, food that arrives at temperature over stories about vision. At 5, the FOH manager texts me, "Okay, we were wrong. Can you help? We can't lose everyone." I reply with the PDF I already wrote, scope, schedule, outcomes, audit partner, fee. He types, stops, types again. We'll find the money. I send, find the standards first. I go back to my tiny prep table and finish labeling tomorrow's Cambros. Steelhead, 7.3 pounds. Yield 87%. DNS 1740 NH proof of value is still built in daylight. The bay outside turns silver. My sign clicks off on time. Across the street, their door stays locked with orange paper taped inside. Black letters big enough to read from our window. Closed until we can do this right.